Alright, what's going on, people? I've been wanting to make this video for like a week now. This is like my fourth take of it across a random amount of days. They was just terrible, the earlier attempts, because I was just fucking wasted and just mostly just babbling. So I'm just gonna try and my main motivation for this is my fascination with this shit now, and also just, I went looking for information about this, and there really weren't a lot of like great videos that just kind of like told you immediately what the effects were like. So I'm gonna talk about the effects first, and then I'm gonna talk about what HHC pretty much is and what it, and kind of explain it. So so pretty much the form factor that I tried was a dabbable form, which turns out, I'm pretty sure, in order to like not have this be a complete nightmare when you try to actually use this to smoke, I'm pretty sure you need some type of like actual like special equipment for it, because when you get it in a dabbable form, it usually comes in like a really tiny glass jar, and it's really sensitive to heat changes, for one thing. So if you just leave it out and don't put it in the refrigerator, it can easily like weirdly just kind of like melt a bit and just kind of actually become even harder to like extract from the jar, and in some cases like almost drying up. It's a bit of a mess. But yeah, I didn't have any tools that assist you in smoking this kind of thing, so for me it was just about getting some of the wax out and putting it onto some pre-existing bud and then smoking it that way. So that was the way that I consumed this HHC, and the bud that I used was from the same company that I got the wax from, the dabbable form, that my homie actually hooked me up with. So the bud was some pretty, some fairly decent CBD flower that was infused with a small amount of THCO. So pretty much little CBD dominant THCO infused flower. So right off the bat, I didn't smoke prior to that to try an HHC. I was smoking earlier in a day, but I decided to like put aside, wait a good while and then start fresh, kind of. So this isn't going to be like amplified by anything else. So pretty much right off the bat, like literally right after I took the first hit, the flavor, it definitely had a different flavor profile. Like the pre-existing bud kind of had like a, I don't know, like I don't even know how I would describe the flavor. It's not really fruit-like, but it was, one of those artificial kind of flavors that you would come to expect in all these different fucking vapes and shit. But with the HHC wax on there, the flavor got a lot more neutral and kind of like indecipherable, I would say. It didn't really taste like anything. It just kind of, like, if anything, maybe a bit medicinal, not in a bad way, but just kind of just really, really neutral, like, just nothing, kind of. And one property about this is how smooth it was, because with HHC, it's widely reported that you're not really coughing a lot with it, or at all, and I didn't cough with it. It went down really smooth. I didn't feel like, I didn't feel like, any, like, it didn't feel like I put glass shards into my lungs or anything like that. And it was pretty pleasant. So you'll definitely feel it and know that you actually got the HHC hit when you do it. but it's not unpleasant. So right after that was the taste, and then the effects. It was really interesting because, despite the fact that most websites say that like you're not gonna really experience any of the effects until maybe like 30 minutes or whatever, that wasn't the case for me. And for some people, it's said to be anywhere between 10 to 30. But for me, it was like right after the hit, I started feeling like a really like big chill wave effect, as I call it, because it literally just feels like an energetic wave emanating from the top of your head down throughout your body. So that persisted for, I don't know, I'd say about 10 minutes, and then it kind of got less intense, but that was really pleasant. Just a nice little body high, I guess, as well as a mind high. And that was just like right at the beginning. So I didn't take another hit until I felt that the drug, like it kind of like hit its peak or something. Like it was like taking effect, I mean, like ramping up. And that part took probably about like 20 minutes to start. And from there, it was just a nice smooth sail. Like it was, you know, the effects boost up slowly, and they just keep ramping up, and then it'll peak probably, for some people, it can be between 1 hour to 2 hours. I would say it peaked for me probably a bit past the 1 hour mark, but I didn't feel like taking another hit until well after that first hour. So I think somewhere after the first hour for sure, I took a second hit, and that was an even bigger hit. And yeah, I just basically got more of the same. It was still pleasant, still smooth, and just felt really nice. Now, in terms of expanding on what the feelings were, yeah, you do get the euphoria, you get the relaxation, and there's a lot of different effects that can be experienced with this, because like all cannabinoids, the effects are going to be different for each person, and HHC in particular is known to be pretty potent on its own. I've read conflicting reports saying that like some people suggest that it's 80% the strength of Delta 8, some say Delta 9, and then others say that it's actually more potent than both of those, and that it's like almost as potent as like raw THC. And for me, I would say the latter is definitely the more accurate claim for how it felt for me. I've taken Delta 8 and 9 and pretty familiar with those. I've taken them gummy and flower and shit like that. And HHC, even though it was combined with this THCO, it was definitely more closer to just like a raw like THC experience in terms of like the potency of it. Now, in terms of like, you know, the other effects that you can experience, some people, besides the euphoria and all that and the relaxation, is gets rid of your anxiety for sure. It can help with pain relief, much like CBD can, and THC. It can certainly help with boosting your mood, just getting happier. It's also can help with sleep, helping you get to sleep. And it doesn't break down your body like most other cannabinoids. It's got its own, it does interact with your natural like THC receptors and all that, but it breaks down your body a lot differently than other cannabinoids, which is partially why, for some reason, HHC gummies in particular are known to be really potent and last anywhere between 5 to 10 hours, depending on the person. And a lot of that comes from like the namesake. HHC is hexahydrocannabinol. I think I pronounced that right. Which the hydro part comes from hydrogenation, which is the process that was, I guess you could say, pioneered by Roger Adams in the 40s. He actually, had the patent for it in 1947. So pretty much what that can do is some of the notes about the length is that it can last longer for people that have slow metabolism. It can also last longer for people who are older, and that can be exacerbated by age-related factors. I don't know what types, but that's just what the research says. I've apparently somehow weighing more can make it a bit more potent. I don't know to what extent. And yeah, it works a lot more closely with your brain, which explains why there's a lot more of a wider variation in reported effects, you know, in terms of regardless of like how you take it, you know, the form factor or what have you. So it is naturally occurring, but not enough so that it can really be extracted via common pollen-based methods like other cannabinoids and THC are, and hemp in general. So it's generally extracted from, it's created by extracting hemp from CBD, and then they take that and use it, they convert it to HHC via the hydrogenation. So that's why it's considered by scientists to be semi-synthetic. It's not fully synthetic because it does technically come, it is kind of naturally occurring like THC is and whatnot, but just not enough to where it can be purely extracted. I mean, I guess there are some companies that do that method, but it's really costly, it takes a lot longer, and I wouldn't really recommend trying to find that. It's just not worth it when you can just do this route and just spend way less money. And HHC in general is cheaper on average than other cannabinoids too, so that's kind of a nice bonus. But yeah, you know, oh yeah, a note about like whether it's considered quote-unquote sativa or indica based. Well, the truth about that is that cannabinoids aren't, they can't really like truly be sativa or indica. That those words really just get used in this context to describe what the expected effects are going to be. But with that said, HHC is kind of, people generally say that it's more of an indica type, which is my preferred type anyway. So yeah, for me, I'm definitely more into like the nice mind high aspect of it. I don't really I don't need it for like, I don't know, getting energetic or focus or anything like that. I just like the chill aspect of it, so that's kind of what I'm into when it comes to smoking in period. But yeah, I mean, I think I touched on just about everything important, I guess. Oh yeah, there's one more thing about the scientific nature of it, about expanding on why it lasts so much longer than other cannabinoids, is that another expansion of the hydrogenation aspect is the fact that usually there's 2 hydrogen atoms. There's 2 extra, like HHC has 2 extra hydrogen atoms, which gives it a longer shelf life. And that is, why is that? Please work, brain. I don't remember, but there's like a really fancy explanation for it that I actually had in my brain and I just don't remember it. But yeah, okay, no, actually, okay, this is still just a terrible fucking video. My God, this is awful. Okay, so the way it works is pretty much you've got 2 electrons shared between 2 atoms in a molecule due to the double bonds that are there. And what these double bonds can do is make the THC weaker and less volatile. So with the hydrogenation process, if you replace those hydrogen bonds, replace those double bonds with hydrogen bonds, the THC becomes more stable and less reactive, and that increases the resistance and the stability against thermo-oxidative breakdown, which, when that happens, that degrades the volume of oxygen that can interact with the molecules, which that just translates to it makes everything more potent and also just makes everything last longer, including the effects. So yeah, that's my super clumsy review / rambling notes about this thing. I mean, I originally meant this video to be like 6 minutes long, and it's fucking like 15. So I don't know. I failed epically, but this is my last take. I just don't feel like fucking doing it again, and I hope someone learns something from this. Oh yeah, let me review. I guess I'll give it like a rating or something. Great review, by the way, just amazingly professional. I would recommend you, if you're like, if you want like a smooth to smoke thing that also doesn't give you anxiety or paranoia, which is like a huge part of, like, I wanted to mention that too and just totally forgot about it. This is kind of important because a lot of people that like smoke any type of like THC related product, they say that they don't like it because it can give them paranoia and anxiety and things like that instead of taking that stuff away. And that is true. It's an unfortunate truth. Some people are affected that way because obviously with the way that these things work, they affect everyone's body differently. But HHC is generally reported to just not produce those negative aspects in people, those negative effects. So if this is something that you were like on the fence about, and you weren't, maybe you tried some other things before and you know just didn't have a great time, I think overall, like, HHC as a product, as a concept, it's definitely really cool. It's great, and I think it's definitely, I can definitely understand why a lot of dispensaries are moving towards phasing out pre-existing products that aren't based on it and introducing HHC now. Even though it's not a completely new concept, for some reason there just haven't been that many people like selling a lot of, I don't know, like well-made pure product. Anyway, yeah, whatever. So yeah, give it a shot. But I would say if unless you have like the tools that can make the dabbable form like actually fucking usable, don't really bother with that. Just go with a different form factor if you can. Like, you know, you can get it in a syringe. Some places you can get the flower. You know, yada yada. Or, you know, try gummies. Try the fucking gummies. Those are, you don't got to worry about any crazy fucking hardware. You just fucking put it in your mouth, chew and swallow, and just fucking wait and get like a really long high. So, yeah, that's my super just needlessly long rambling review about this concept. So I doubt anyone is ever going to listen to all this, but yeah, that's it. So I recommend HHC as a concept. Probably skip the wax unless you've got experience doing that type before, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, hope this helps someone out there. All right, peace.